In this video, we'll be talking about body text, the text that your visitors can see on your web pages, and what to do with it from an SEO perspective. I talked about the heading tags earlier. In this lesson, I'm focusing more on the other text on the page, the visible, non-heading text. Essentially, you want to put keywords into the body text. If you're optimizing a page with the term rabbit hutch, for instance, you want to make sure that those words appear within the text that visitors can see. Think about what Google and the other search engines are trying to achieve. Google wants to provide links to pages that are a good match for a searcher's search query, the keywords typed into the search box. So although Google looks at some keyword placements that are not always obvious to someone reading a web page, such as in the title tag and URL, at the end of the day, what it's really trying to figure out is this. Is the content that this page provides to a visitor a good match for these keywords? Thus, having keywords in the content is critical because it's the content that Google is trying to assess, and all the other indicators, title tags, URLs, links pointing to the page, at the end of the day, these are merely proxies, clues that Google is using to interpret what the page content is all about and how relevant it is to particular keyword searches. While putting keywords into the body text, you might think about stressing those words a little. It's unclear how much this helps, but it certainly can't hurt, and in fact, in many cases, the techniques I'm going to explain actually make your pages more readable and easier for site visitors to scan. First, avoid huge blocks of text. Rather, think chunking. Break large paragraphs into smaller paragraphs and use bulleted lists to break up concepts further. And of course, those bulleted lists will contain your focus keywords. You can also use bold and italic text and the HTML strong tag to stress your focus keywords. Don't overdo it and don't make it all appear clumsy to the reader, but a few stressed keywords here and there are fine. How often should your keywords appear in the body text? That is, what keyword density should you use? Keyword density is a measure of the percentage of the body text accounted for by the keywords for which you're optimizing the page. So for instance, if you're optimizing for rabbit hutch in 200 words of body text, and you use those keywords 5 times, a total of 10 words, then the keyword density is 10 divided by 200, or 5%. Now, I'd like to tell you a particular percentage you should use, and in fact, if you really want, you can go out and find all sorts of percentages. Search for keyword density or correct keyword density, and you'll find lots of different advice, often very precise. One SEO pundit claims that if you want to rank well in Yahoo, you need 3% keyword density, but for Google, you need 1 to 2%. Others say you should target 4 to 6%. These numbers are complete nonsense, based on utterly unscientific analyses. I want to tell you how these statistics are derived, though, because it is kind of amusing. Here's a real-world, non-SEO example. Let's say you get together a few hundred doctors of both sexes and various races and measure their height. Then you determine the height of the average doctor. That height, therefore, must be the best height for a doctor, and in fact, people with that height are more likely to become doctors. Of course, actually, it's a meaningless number, but then so are keyword density percentages. The density percentages are the average densities of high-ranking pages for various keywords, which at first glance may sound significant, but in fact is totally meaningless. There actually is no target keyword density. The true answer is keyword density depends. Some pages will have a higher density than others, depending on the content. So, here's my rule of thumb. You want to scatter the phrase throughout the body text. You want it frequently, but not too frequently. Read what you've written, and if it sounds clumsy, if a visitor to the web page would find the frequency to be odd or irritating, then you've gone too far. And you should also include other related phrases and synonyms. Again, if optimizing body text for rabbit hutch, you might also include terms such as rabbit box, rabbit cage, and so on. And remember, we already have the focus keywords in the URL, title tag, heading tags, and so on. So it's not like everything depends on having the keywords over and over and over again in the body text. The body text is just one more clue that the search engines use. So don't get too hung up on the density. Just make sure the focus term is scattered around and it doesn't sound weird when you read it. Typically, though, this isn't a problem. The far more common issue I see when consulting on SEO issues with business people is that their content is really light on keywords, not heavy. As I've explained earlier in this course, whoever's creating your content needs to be thinking about keywords while doing so. In this page that we saw earlier, for instance, the relevant term could have been used more frequently in the body text. Overdensity really isn't a problem here. So at this point, you might want to experiment a little with body text in your sample page. Write a little body text, see how you can weave your keywords into it, add a few associated keywords, but make sure it doesn't sound clumsy.